In this video, we're going to learn about how to write equations of circles. So, the standard form of a circle is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And that's where the center of the circle is on the origin, or the point 0, 0. And the radius is r. So notice that it's not just equal to r, it's equal to the radius squared. So this is our first equation for a circle. Now, since this is only for circles at 0, 0 with some radius r, you might wonder what happens if we move the circle somewhere else. So maybe our circle is actually over here at some point with some radius. In that case, our center might be some point, and we're going to call it h, k, and our radius is still just r. So maybe we have our center h, k. Now, the equation for the circle in this case is going to be x minus h squared. Notice it's similar to x squared, but now we subtract h, plus y minus k squared equals, just like before, r squared. So now we've got this point h corresponding with the center. Then we have this point k corresponding with the y value for the center. But notice with these, since it's subtracting, these values are going to be opposite signs from what you think they are. So you'll see what I mean by that in this first example. So you have to be really careful. This first problem tells you to identify the center and the radius, and then we're actually going to sketch the circle. So our radius is one of the easier ones to figure out. Our radius is going to be not 16, but the square root of 16, which is just 4. And now our center is that tricky part. It's always going to be opposite of what it looks like. It looks like the x value is going to be a -3. It's actually a +3. It looks like the y value is going to be a +2. It's actually a -2. The reason that happens is because there's already this minus sign built into the equation. So it's going to make it look like it's opposite of what it really is. So now you're going to find the center. So you go over 3, down 2. And now what I like to do is I like to count up 4. I counted up 3. So I count up 4. I like to count over 4. I like to count down 4. And then I like to count 4 to the right. And then I do my best to kind of make this into a circle, and it ends up looking more like a rounded box sometimes. But if you have a nice iPad that does it for you, there is your circle with your center. So let's try another one. As usual, the center is going to be funky, so it's going to be opposite of what it seems like. So if it's 5, it's really -5. If it's 3 and it looks like a -3, it's really +3. Our radius is not 4, it's the square root of 4, because this 4 is really r squared. So it is 2. Now our center is at -5, up 3. So I go -5, up 3. And now I go over 2 this way, so that's like 2. I go up 2, left 2, down 2, and then I draw my circle. Now the last thing we can do is, if we have the center and radius, we can write an equation for the circle. So I like to write out the general equation and then fill it in. So I like to label this H, K, and R, and then I plug right into my equation. So x minus h becomes x minus 2 squared. A lot of times people forget to write the squared there. Plus y minus, now it's going to be y minus negative 8 squared equals 3 squared. So that becomes x minus 2 squared plus, now this minus minus becomes y plus 8 squared equals 9. There's our equation. Let's try one more, which is has a tricky part to it. So our center, I like to label it HK, and I like to label my radius R. That means this becomes x minus negative 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals the square root of 5 squared. And you might be wondering, what is the square root of 5 squared? So here's a nice little reminder for you. If we square a square root, it cancels it out, so it becomes x. So if we square the square root of 5, it just becomes 5. And now I'm just going to rewrite this so everything's simplified. So the x minus negative 3 becomes x plus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared. The last thing I like to check is just that my signs are opposite of what they seem like. So I've got a negative 3 here, so I should be expecting a positive 3. I've got a positive 4, so I should be expecting a minus 4, and I did. And then I remember my squares, and I remember to square my radius. So that's what you do for writing the equation of a circle.